Next on the Foreman Boxing Magazine, State Athletic Control Commissioner Larry Hazzard Sr. We're back, and we're going to continue with part 2 of our conversation with the New Jersey State Athletic Control Commissioner, Larry Hazzard Sr. Commissioner, your story is just one, as I said before, people know, they think they know about boxing, and we always talk about this, you and I, how people, they think they know so much about boxing, but they don't, because they think that it's the fighter, managers, and the promoter. But before all this takes place, you have to be the one to okay everything. You bring that whole band together. What, and as far as a fighter's preparation for fighting in the state of New Jersey, or anywhere that matters, but more or less in the state of New Jersey, because you input some very vigorous rules that I think that became more of a factor that made for the safety of the fighters. But what does it take for you to determine whether or not a fight is going to take place in the state of New Jersey?
Well, in a nutshell, there are several factors, but the primary factors is that, you know, a matchmaker submits to the commissioner fighter A, fighter B. The first thing that the commissioner has to consider is the fighter's record. Okay, you know, fighters' records they tell a lot, but they don't tell the full story. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you start with that record. Now, what that record does, it gives you a window into that fighter's history, because if a fighter is 10-1, okay, you get along with the fighter's name and his record, you get what is known as a fact sheet of all of his fights, who his opponents were, and how the fight ended. So a fighter who's 10-1, that means he won 10 fights, he lost one. Okay. He had 11 fights.
Right.
So it'll have a list of all of it, you know,
wins.
10 wins, whether they were by decision, whether they were TKOs, or whether they were knockouts. Okay. So from that, you begin to get a perspective on this fighter. You know, even if especially if you don't know him. Mm-hmm. Let's say you don't know the fighters. Okay. Because over time, like me, I've been around in 30 years. Most of these fighters, I know them. Okay. But starting out, you don't know all the fighters. So you look at that record, you look at these victories, and you look at the opponents. Okay. Now, that's on one side. Okay. On the other side, you will have maybe a fighter who is 5-8. Okay. 13 fights. 13 fights. And you're looking at these two. Now, just looking at the record, you would say, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't look like a good match. Because this guy is 10-1, he's 5-8. You know, it's not, that doesn't tell the whole story. This guy over here with 5-8, mm-hmm. he may have had 5 victories, 8 losses, but the fighters who he fought may have been higher caliber fighters than the one that he fought, you understand? Mm-hmm. And he may have gone the distance in all of those fights that he lost. Okay? So you have to take all of these factors into consideration before you either approve the fight or you don't approve it. You know, so these are some of the things that you begin to look at. You know, you look at how many times a fighter has been knocked out, how many times he's been stopped in a fight. Mm-hmm. So you have to use your experience and your knowledge in coming to a final conclusion as to whether you're going to say yes or no for that fight.
And you know, because we don't normally get people with your knowledge to talk about this game, but you look at a fighter's record and it'll say TKO, then it says KO. Tell us, what's the difference? I mean, is a knockout, does it have to be a knockout count out, TKO counts? What's the difference? I mean, you know, TKO, KO, what is the difference in those two?
Well, to just answer your question directly, what is the difference, and then I'll explain something. A TKO, by definition, is when the referee stops the fight.
Okay.
The fighter is still cognizant, okay, but he's getting overwhelmed, and before he gets seriously injured, that's the premise, that's the basis. Before he gets seriously injured, and perhaps before he does get knocked out, you stop the fight.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a TKO. If he can't come out for the next round, as long as he is conscious and the fight is stopped without the referee having counted over him to 10. Because once you count over him to 10 and he can't get up from the canvas, that's a knockout. He doesn't have to totally be unconscious.
Okay.
But a knockout is clearly defined as the fighter could not gain his feet by the count of 10. Now, certainly if he is knocked out cold, that speaks for itself. But that's the definition. So when a fighter is down, and down by definition, any part of a fighter's body other than the bottom of his feet, he's considered down.
So the glove touches?
Yeah, if he gets hit with a punch and his glove touches the canvas, that's a knockdown.
That's a knockdown.
So he has to take a mandatory, he takes a count. A mandatory 8 count.
Okay.
Because that's a knockdown.
Okay.
Okay? But he does not necessarily have to be knocked out unconscious for it to be declared a knockout. It is determined by the count. If he's on one knee and you count to 10 and he doesn't get, that's a knockout. That's a knockout. So you have to know, you have to know. And all of this comes with experience.
You work with your officials, I know, up close. I've been to the office there and I hear them. You're very close with instructing your judge. Not that you're telling the judges what to do or the referees, but you wanting to make sure that whatever decision they make in that ring, that they stand by is something that you can stand behind them, because the State Athletic Control Commission is the one that's going to have to take the heat, whether it's the fighter I like or the other person's like. How do you manage to bring in, to really, I guess, to keep those guys in that way? How do you, I mean, because there's some bad referees. Like now we have some bad decisions, judges especially. And I understand just the other day somebody suspended some judges from scoring. But what do you do when a situation like that arises? I mean, you're looking at a fight and you can tell that, you thought this guy deserved. Then it goes the other way. What happens Monday when, you're back in the office, you're reviewing this thing again?
Well, I accept the fact, and I certainly accept the responsibility that the buck stops here. This is where the buck stops. After all is said and done, it comes here. And, being an educator, I feel that education is the key. Mm-hmm. People have to be taught. People have to be motivated to be better. So what we do in New Jersey, we have a series of ongoing seminars where we bring our officials into the central office. We have on the Saturday mornings, 2 or 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Okay.
We have judges seminars where they come in, pen, paper, chalkboards, demonstrations, and I will even, you have to, the concept of inclusion, I will designate 1 or 2 judges to spearhead the seminar. Mm-hmm. And this is the classroom session where you constantly trying to instill in people the concepts of judging. What is the criteria for judging a fight? How do you evaluate a fight round by round, minute by minute? How should this score? How should this performance be interpreted? See, because we have a 10-point must system in boxing. The numbers 10 and down, actually, judges rarely use more than 10, 9, 8, 7 maybe, okay? But it's a 10-point must system. Those points are supposed to paint a picture of what happened in that round. If a round is even and you really can't determine who did, 10-10. That's supposed to tell you that that was an even round. These guys.
So there can't be an even round.
Well, there could be, but we always try to encourage judges to look for something that one fighter did that the other fighter didn't do to try to keep a round from being even.
Okay.
But in the interest of integrity and honesty, if you really, really can't make that decision, then you score it. But it should be rare. It should not be something where you come out of a fight with 5 even rounds.
Right.
You understand? Now, you have to be looked at very seriously. But the process of educating people is the important thing. Because, you know, judging, it's a subjective subject. You know, and so it's sometimes very difficult to have 3 individuals interpret something the exact same way because of what they see. So, you know, you try to bring your judges in. See, I'm a firm believer in bringing people together, have them voice their opinions so that they can understand what they're supposed to be looking at and how they're supposed to be interpreting it, so that everybody can come closer together in how they score a fight. And so that's what we do. Same thing with referees. Now, I'm very fortunate in this respect. To my knowledge, I don't know of any other commissioners in the country that was a former referee himself.
None that I know.
That had the refereeing experience that I had. I don't know of any. So I'm very fortunate in that respect that I was in there. I've been in the ring with some of the
boxed as well. You boxed, you refereed.
I have been the 3rd man in the ring with some of the greatest fighters in boxing history. Okay? So that is such a wealth. Man, you don't know what that brings to the table. So the refereeing seminars, oftentimes I get actively involved in that. And we go to a gym. That's not in the classroom. Oh no, we have gyms in Trenton.
Okay.
You know, the Ike Williams Boxing Academy. We used to go, may he rest in peace, Barry Goss, before he passed, we used to go to his gym. And we have the ring. We used to have like some of the amateur kids come in and they do little mock situations in the ring. And I would instruct, and I would have some of my referees instruct, how do you count over a fighter? You know, how do you send fighters to the neutral corner? How do you understand? How you master the ring. You understand? How you break clinches. See, there's a bit more of a science to refereeing than it is to judging. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because refereeing requires a physical effort. You understand? So you have to be hands-on when you're trying to. You can't teach that in a classroom on a chalkboard.
Okay.
You know, you have to actually get there. I come in, I get in the ring. You understand? I show guys how to count, how to break clinches, how to direct fighters to the corner, etc. Then, when it's showtime, I expect to see what they were taught. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And if I don't see what I think I should be seeing, then I have to, you have to tell people, hey, look, I don't like that. And I'm sitting there at ringside, and that's why I say I've refereed thousands of fights, even right now. Because when I'm sitting at ringside, I'm refereeing the fight in my mind,
Right.
in my head. When I think the ref should be breaking a clinch, right away he should be in there, or he should do this. You know, my mind is moving with his, and for the most part, I can tell when a referee is on point when he's in concert with me. When I'm thinking that he's moving the same way.
Doing what you know you taught him to do.
And this is what, you have to set goals, and you have to set standards. And this is what you work toward, Now, several years ago, I was away from the commission.
Right.
I remember the former commissioner, he suspended 3 of the judges because of an unpopular decision that took place here in Atlantic City. Okay, it was the fighter Williams, the kid that's in the wheelchair. Paul Williams and the Latin kid.
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot his name, but anyway.
Yeah, kid smokes the cigarettes and stuff.
Yeah, it was a very unpopular decision, and he suspended the judges. Now, I make this point only because I'm not trying to criticize that. Well, I am criticizing. I thought that was the worst thing in the world that you could do. Because, number one, you appointed these judges. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, if they didn't perform the way that you honestly thought,
buck stops on you.
The buck stops here.
Yeah.
And it was my opinion that it was done because of the pressure from the criticism, the press and all that. See, if you can't stand the heat, you got to get out the kitchen.
Now,
see, and that comes with the territory.
And that brings us to another point. You've been in charge of some of the biggest fights in boxing, not just Atlantic City, boxing, to name a few. Tyson Spinks, Foreman Holyfield, Arturo Gatti, and some of the big...
Those great fights with Saad Muhammad.
Saad Muhammad, Dwight Kwawi, and those guys.
Kwawi.
I mean, just fantastic. You brought Atlantic City boxing to a level. And as I said, I could go to California, and people knew about Larry. Friends of mine that followed boxing, they knew about Larry Hazzard. Wrestler. I mean, that's the first thing that sticks out. You're clean, you're right. But then all of a sudden, after 20 some odd years, you get the call and they says, hey, there's the door. I don't know. What was that? What did you feel?
Well, that was a time I wasn't in a very good place at that time. But I had great role models out in front of me, man. Muhammad Ali was, not only was he a fighter, he was more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the example that he set for us, man, that was a hell of an example.
Yes, it was.
Outside of this.
Man.
You understand? So, not only did I know him personally, I had some great conversations with him. And I was confronted with a situation that tested my manhood, tested my beliefs, tested my morals, tested a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And it was a situation that I chose to be who I am. I chose to be faithful to who I am as a man. I had some misunderstandings with some people on the staff who I felt, one individual who I felt was not working within the best interest of the fighters.
Okay.
We had a young fighter who died as a result of competing in a fight in Atlantic City. Stephon Johnson, you remember that?
Yeah, yes, I do remember that.
Well, there was some situations surrounding that just wasn't, as they say, wasn't on point. Okay, but anyway, as a result of some of my misunderstandings with my superiors. You know, I guess it was felt that, you know, it would be better if I left. So they showed me the door. You understand?
Okay.
But you know what? Like they say, when you act on the side of right, God always looks out for you.
Always does.
You understand?
Always does.
So they had me buried. You know, the funny thing about it, when I left, a lot of people don't know. I left in 2007. I could have came back in 2009. I was offered I could have came back then. But you know what? Like I said, sometimes God works in mysterious ways. When I left, I went higher. I went higher because the next year, a dear lady, man, who really belongs on that platform with us.
Mary Muhammad.
Yeah, she threw me a lifeline the very next year and brought me to the IBF, okay, to her organization, and made me her personal assistant. I was up there, you understand? They made me bigger.
Isn't that something?
She made me bigger.
Something?
You understand? I was not only was I involved in New Jersey, I was involved all over the world. I was sending officials all over the world, sending supervisors to world championship fights all over the globe.
So you're in more control of boxing now,
And
not just the state of New Jersey.
let me tell you something. And not only that, I could pick where I wanted to go. Because I would go out every now and then to supervise fights, and I could pick where I wanted to go. You understand? So I didn't miss nothing. Leaving New Jersey, I was rewarded for standing up. Just like Muhammad Ali was rewarded for standing up. You understand?
Exactly.
And not only that, the people, you know, you always got the haters out there.
Yes, you do.
And see, I said, President Mandela's words was always ringing in my ears. See, because I said, see, I'm getting better and better. I'm coming back better. Okay? And lo and behold, you understand, after a few years at the IBF, you know, she went off and did some other things. I left with her, okay? I left there. I went to the networks. I was working for NBC,
right.
doing, you know, so I was being educated even more in the boxing business because, you know, I was limited. I was an official, referee, judge, then I was a commissioner in New Jersey. Now, she opened the door. I learned all about the workings of the world sanctioning organizations. I got to meet all of the big promoters around the world. Then when I left there, I went to the networks, got more exposure, you understand? And then
You get the call.
a few years later, boom, you understand?
You get the call.
The whole circle.
Yeah.
And see, I looked at it this way. I said, see, there's a lesson in everything. I didn't dog nobody. I didn't say nothing. I just left. And everybody went, what happened to Larry? What happened? What happened? I didn't say nothing. I didn't badmouth nobody. I didn't say nothing. I just left.
Came back.
Okay? And they thought they would never see me again. Okay? There are people who thought they would never see me again. And, he's gone, good, he's done, he's out. You understand? They never, see, that's why you never know. You understand? You just stand for what's right. See, my thing has always been is that if you see did you see Iran Barkley?
Yes.
You had him here?
Yes.
You see how he
Yes.
embraced him and
Yes.
all? You know, you understand? I have that kind of relationship with every fighter that has come through the state of New Jersey. You know why? You know why? Not because I've always given them what they wanted. It's not that. Because of what I represent. They know that I was always looking out for what was right for them.
That's right, their best
But what
interest.
was fair for everybody. You understand? Now, I've had to make rulings against him. I've had to make rulings against hundreds of fighters. All of those fighters in Philadelphia. When I go to Philadelphia, you would think that I was from Philly. You understand? See, that's the type of brotherhood and camaraderie that I've always tried to develop with these fighters. You understand? Because my whole life has been spent with young people. And fighters are young people compared to me. You understand what I'm saying? And I've always treated them with respect, okay? I've always, I never tried to do anything that would hurt their pride or their dignity. I've always treated them like decent human beings, and they could see that and they appreciate that.
It's a fact that you're well respected.
And I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be where I am.
Well, it's good to see you back. You know, like I said, other than a good friend of mine, you do a great, fantastic job. And, you know, 1 hour just doesn't do it. So that means somehow we have to get back for another hour.
Well, you know, once you know, they always say that I can talk, you know. But when you start talking boxing, man, and life, you know, that's
like,
like
so much together.
That, hey, man,
they really go together.
You feed me, well, I can go on for hours.
Well, that's Commissioner, State Athletic Control Board Commissioner Larry Hazzard Sr. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate it. And as always, we'll be talking again, I'm sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks a lot.